everybody. This is Gregory with 5-Minute Catholic Apologetics, where 5 minutes of your time may get you to the divine. Today, I'm going to talk about 5 things that perturb me about homiletics today. Now, before we begin, let's start with a prayer. Nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto, secutoram principio et nunc et semper et seculi seculorum. Amen. Now, this episode is all out of charity. I don't mean to criticize deacons and priests or bishops, because really they're the only ones that should be doing homilies in their tactics. Because like we understand, the ordained life is a vocation. It's not like in the Protestant world where some guy or girl is gifted with the tongue, so to speak. Then they're like, well, if I'm a good speaker, I'm gifted with the tongue, I should start a church. It's not like that. But you see a lot of the biggest churches started like that, like Joel Osteen, right? And Chuck Hagee and all these people, like John Hagee, I should say, and some other people. With the ordained, it's a vocation, it's a calling. And so they have certain strengths, and sometimes homiletics is not their strengths. Now in the seminary, they do take courses on homiletics, on how to do good homilies. And I've heard Father Trujillo from EWTN even talk about this and how he instructs the seminarians and how to do it. And it's a gift. Look, and I understand not everybody has it, and I understand it can be difficult to concoct a good homily. But that being said, being a lifelong Catholic and being in the pews for daily Mass and Sunday Masses for several decades, there's some running themes that are in them that just bother me a little. And again, I understand that not everybody can excel in homiletics, but when the ordained who are doing homilies do them well, it is so profound. And so I think it should be impressed upon and focused on in the seminary and even later on. I mean, you don't want to be a priest 20 years into your ministry and just be really bad at homiletics, because remember, I mean, that is your one access, those 10 minutes of talking to the large majority of your congregation. You'll always know, you always have like a small cadre at the parish that you know, but most people that go to the Catholic Mass are not involved in the church. So this is your one moment for 10 minutes to evangelize, to practice apologetics, to do Bible study, whatever your treatment is for that Mass. And I think that's important to remember. So let's just get to it. Number 1, I mean, the obvious one is that it's bland. You got the not so eloquent, bland person doing the homily. And like, this can come in different circles. Like, I know deacons and priests that are brilliant, but they're just like Bueller. Like, their delivery is just so monotonous that you tune out. You try so hard, like for like 3 minutes, and then you're tuning out. You're just tuning out. Their delivery is lackluster. And they could be, like they say about, you could be the best cobbler in the world, but if nobody hears that you are making the best shoes, you're really not even making them. It's almost the same thing with the monotonous speaker. If they're so monotonous, your message could be so great, but people are not going to hear it. So you do have to put a little zeal into it, and practice your homily beforehand and get some positive feedback. And just, even though you might be kind of an introvert, just work harder not to be so bland. Number 2 is sometimes it can get bogged down in the kind of the erudite esoteric. So some deacons, bishops are drawn to the ordained ministry, and they love the history of the faith, or they love the deep theology, like they love Thomistic theology, for example. And so when they're doing their homilies, I think they're forgetting like who their audience is. And they do homilies toward, like, they're giving a speech at the Thomistic Institute, something like that, right? So it's too dense, it's too erudite, and it's not connecting with the congregation. And so the person might think this is amazing, and contextually and textually could be amazing, but again, this goes back to the delivery. You kind of have to know your audience and what your audience needs to be hearing. And probably that homily that you're wanting to give is better to do at a Bible study or have some sort of scheduled speaker series. Number 3 is going to be the missionary homily. Now, this doesn't happen too often, but of course, there's going to be missionaries from Africa or even from America that will come to your parish, and they'll do the petition for you to donate to their cause. I don't necessarily have a problem with this if it's done sparingly. But what I don't like is when the entire homily, let's just say the reading is on Matthew 16 and Jesus giving the keys to Peter. And then that happens to be that same day, the pastor allows a missionary from fill in the blank country come and speak about the importance of their job and ask for money. I get it, but you're squandering a key moment in your sermon that you could be doing on catechesis, evangelism, and talking about Matthew 16, how important that is. So it's just like, the way I would like it is this. The pastor, whoever's officiating the Mass, does their regular homily on whatever the scriptures or whatever theme they want it to be on for like 7 minutes. Then they say, okay, we're going to have a missionary come up and talk. And you tell the missionary ahead of time, 3 minutes. We're doing this, please donate. I'll be at the back of the church at the end of Mass if you have any questions. That's it. Number 4, not using scripture, the readings to fashion your homily. Now, get me wrong. Priests are not under any obligation to use the readings from the Old New Testament or the Gospel to do their homily. They can do their homily on essentially anything they want. It can be something on the news of the day, or anything like when Roe v. Wade was overturned. I mean, I assume that the large majority of priests did their homily on that. But it doesn't have to be on it. But if going back to when I was talking about Matthew 16, or let's say John 20, or something like that, where if the scripture is just like slam dunk, or like James 2, salvation or faith without works is dead, or something like that. You just happen to get these nuggets, and if you're not doing a homily on those nuggets and reminding the congregation why we believe this, why the church teaches this, you're just missing a golden opportunity. So I would say, and I'm not going to say like not every gospel reading is equal and there's some that are better than others. And I understand that sometimes a deacon, priest, bishop wants to do a homily on something more thematic. I get that, and that is their prerogative to do that. I'm just saying when the readings, though, are very slam dunk and very important, something that's on the dogma of the faith, then do your homily on that. I think that's very important. And I think the last thing is, I think priests need to remember that what is the job of the homily? And again, I could be completely wrong, but I've gone to enough of these. We don't need to be hearing dense Thomistic stuff or dense Augustinian stuff. What we need to hear is why we're Catholic, reminders of the faith, reminders of the magisterial teachings on fill in the blank. And I would love to hear more homilies on why we do not support homosexual marriage, why we don't support transgenderism, why we don't support contraception, why we don't support abortion, like these basic social teachings, because we are losing the culture war. Despite the Roe v. Wade overturning, as a whole, we've lost the culture war in a lot of these things. Why the church teaches against contraception. And I would love to hear more about those things that are applicable. Do a homily on why the church is against cremating and spreading ashes, because a lot of people are dealing with that in their life. And that is much more important to hear than some dense Thomistic thing on Thomas Aquinas from the 13th century. Or just basic stuff. Reminder of the Marian dogma. We don't worship statues. Because the typical Catholic has a lot of people in their life that are fallen away or that are Protestant, and they're not really that well catechized. So doing these basic Catholicism 101 from the pulpit in the long run is going to help the congregation more than stuff that you think as a deacon, priest, or bishop is important. So I think that is to remember. And please, we need to hear more on why the church fights against the secular, atheistic, pervasive teachings of today, like on homosexual marriage. And people need to hear that all the time, because people are approached, oh, you're Catholic, so you're against gays. They don't know how to retort to that. So we have to give them the tools on how to retort to that. And I just think having Homiletics 101 and having your 10 minutes to be on important topics that are applicable and that people need, they need these tools, is much more important than some other things. So in closing, end of homilies, people should be motivated. They need to think about something that you've brought up, about something, we have to keep it vague because homilies can be on a bunch of stuff, but on serving the poor or not being judgmental, leave them with some impression that's going to motivate them at the end. Especially men. We have that episode on why men are leaving the faith. Men need these kind of clarion calls to take up arms, so to speak. And we need more of those kind of motivational things. And so I would tell you, any one priest that's ever going to listen to this, is take your homilies from a layman's perspective. Take your homilies seriously. Try not to make it too dense. Try to make it applicable. And your homilies is the one opportunity you have to get to most of the parish. And just remember that. We don't expect you to be perfect, of course. But at the same time, one of your jobs is to give the homily and just do the best that you can and work on your delivery and work on the message and challenge us to be better Catholics. And I think that is the key. Guys, post in the comments. Let me know what you think. If you agree or disagree, hit the notification, subscribe, and share with others. Until next time, take care, God bless, and pray.